we'll be looking at area under the curve. If you integrate a to b fx dx, and if the whole graph of fx is above the x-axis, then integrate a to b fx dx will give you this area. We have this question: what is the difference between finding value of an integral and finding area bounded by a curve? To find the value of integral, right? Let's say you have to integrate cosine x from 0 to pi, and you want to find the value of this integral. You can just integrate cosine x, will give you sine x, and then you consider the lower limit 0, upper limit pi. Yeah? So you sub in x as pi, then sub x as 0, and sine pi is 0. Sine 0 is also 0. So which means you get 0 minus 0, which is 0. So the value of this integral, integrate cosine x from 0 to pi, the answer is 0. To answer the question, what's the difference between finding the value of an integral and finding area bounded by the curve? Right? We need this result. If you integrate from a to c, if you integrate from a to c fx dx, a to c is the whole interval. You can break it up as a to b. And b is a number between a and c. You can say you integrate from a to b fx dx, then plus b to c fx dx. You give you integrate a to c fx dx. So to answer the question, what's the difference between finding the value of an integral and finding area bounded, right? If you consider the cosine curve, y equals cosine x from 0 to pi, right? If you want to find area bounded by the cosine curve and the x-axis, then you will find that you have to break it up into two parts. You have to break it up into two parts. Because one part is above the x-axis, one part is below the x-axis. The reason is because later in slide 52, right, we know that if the area is above the x-axis, it's positive. If the area is below the x-axis, the area is negative. So if the area bounded by fx is below the x-axis, it's negative. Like b to c is negative, a to b is positive. So that's why you have to break it into two parts. And then you consider integrate from 0 to pi over 2 to find the area above. So integrate cosine x from 0 to pi over 2. Integrate cosine gives you sine. Then you sub in x as pi over 2 and 0. Then sine pi over 2 is 1. Sine 0 is 0. So it gives you answer 1. So which means this area is 1 unit. And then you consider the other area, pi over 2 to pi. So you integrate cosine x from pi over 2 to pi. So this time you sub x as pi and pi over 2. Sine pi gives you 0. Sine pi over 2 gives you 1. But there's a minus. So that's why it's minus 1. And the answer is correct because below the x-axis, remember below the x-axis is negative. So you should expect to get a negative answer, minus 1. So this area is negative 1. And if I have to find area bounded, find area bounded by the cosine curve and the x-axis from 0 to pi, you should give 1 plus 1. You take numerical value, area is, you take the numerical value, so it's 1 plus, and you get minus 1, so it's 1 plus 1 is 2. So to find area bounded, you should give 2 as the answer. But to find the value of the integral, you give 0 as the answer. So that's the difference between finding the value of the integral and finding area bounded by the curve and the x-axis.